The galactic reclamation yard stretched across the gray surface of four like a metal ocean. Thousands of ships sat in rows that went on forever. Some were broken. Some were burned. All of them were waiting to die. Dew walked between the dead giants with his tool bag over his shoulder. He had worked here for 6 years, cutting apart ships that nobody wanted anymore. It was honest work. It paid enough to send money home to his mother on Earth. But every day he looked at these vessels and felt sad. Each one had a story. Each one had traveled between stars. Now they were just scrap. Dew was 34 years old. He had brown eyes and rough hands from years of mechanical work. His called him strange because he talked to machines. He would apologize to an engine before taking it apart. He would thank a power core before recycling it. The aliens he worked with did not understand this behavior. They thought humans were very odd creatures. Today, the yard supervisor had sent him to Section 47. This was the oldest part of the reclamation yard, where ships went when even the scrap dealers lost interest. Dew had never been this far out before. He found the ship at the end of a long row. It was different from the others immediately. The hull was dark purple, almost black, with lines of silver running through the metal like veins. The design was smooth and organic, like something that had grown rather than been built. A name was written on the side in letters Dew did not recognize. He checked his work tablet. The ship was called the. It was a class heavy cruiser over 400 years old. The builders were listed as a species that had gone extinct 3 centuries ago. The ship had been examined by 47 different engineers from 12 different species. All of them had written the same conclusion. The technology was too old. The systems were incompatible with anything modern. The power core operated on principles that nobody alive understood anymore. The ship was scheduled for complete dismantling next week. Dew stood there for a long time, looking at the vessel. Something about it called to him. He could not explain the feeling. It was like meeting someone and knowing immediately that they would become important in your life. He walked closer and put his hand on the hull. The metal was cold, but for just a moment he thought he felt something beneath the surface. A vibration, a heartbeat. "You are still alive in there," Dew whispered, "aren't you?" There was no response. Of course there was no response. It was a dead ship in a junkyard, but Dew could not shake the feeling that he was wrong about that. He went back to the supervisor's office and did something crazy. He asked how much the ship would cost to buy. The supervisor was unnamed. He had 4 arms and skin like orange leather. When Dew asked his question, laughed so hard that he had to sit down. "You want to buy that piece of garbage," said. "Human, that ship is worthless. 47 engineers could not make it work. What makes you think you can do better?" "I don't know," Dew admitted. "I just want to try." Stopped laughing. He looked at Dew with something like pity. "The price is 3,000 credits. That is the cost of the metal alone. But I am telling you, human, you are throwing your money away." 3,000 credits was everything Dew had saved over 6 years. It was supposed to be his ticket back to Earth someday. It was supposed to be his future. He transferred the money that afternoon. Word spread quickly through the reclamation yard. The human mechanic had bought the ship. The one that nobody could fix. The one that was so old and broken that it was literally worthless. Workers came from other sections just to see the fool who had wasted his entire savings on scrap metal. Dew ignored them all. He moved his few belongings from the worker dormitory onto the ship. The interior was dark and cold. Dust covered every surface. The air smelled like something very old that had been closed up for a very long time. But the ship was beautiful inside. The corridors curved like the inside of a seashell. The walls had patterns that seemed to shift when Dew was not looking directly at them. The bridge had a single chair in the center, surrounded by consoles that displayed nothing but darkness. Dew set up a small sleeping area in what he guessed was the crew quarters. He connected a portable power unit to give himself light and heat. Then he sat in the darkness of the engineering bay with his tools spread out around him. He did not know where to start. The technology was completely foreign to him. The power core was a sphere of black crystal that hung in the center of the room, held in place by nothing visible. There were no cables, no connections, no obvious way to interact with any of it. For 3 days, Du just observed. He walked through every room, he touched every surface. He tried to understand the logic of how the ship was built. Human engineers liked straight lines and obvious connections. Everything had a clear purpose. This ship was different. Everything flowed into everything else. There were no separate systems. It was all one thing. On the 4th day, Du sat down next to the power core and started talking. "I don't know if you can hear me," he said. "I don't know if you are alive or dead or something in between, but I bought you because I could not stand to watch them cut you apart. You deserve better than that. You traveled between stars when my species was still living in caves. You are amazing, and I want to help you if you will let me." He felt foolish. He was talking to a dead machine in a junkyard on a moon far from home. But then something happened. The black crystal in the center of the room began to glow, just a little, just a faint purple light deep inside like a candle flame seen through dark water. It lasted only a second. Then it was gone. Du's heart was beating fast. His hands were shaking. "Okay," he whispered. "Okay, we can work with that." He did not sleep that night. He sat next to the crystal and talked for hours. He told the ship about Earth, about his mother, about why he left home and what he hoped to find out here among the stars. He talked about his belief that everything deserved a chance, that broken things could be fixed, that abandoned things could be loved again. And slowly, so slowly, the crystal began to glow brighter. By morning, Du understood something that 47 engineers had missed. They had tried to command the ship. They had tried to force it to work. But this ship did not respond to commands. It responded to something else entirely. It responded to kindness. 3 months passed on 4. The gray moon continued its slow orbit around a gas giant that filled half the sky. The reclamation yard continued its work of cutting apart dead ships, and Du continued his strange conversation with the. He had learned many things in those 3 months. The ship did not operate like any technology humans had ever built. There were no buttons to press, no commands to enter, no switches to flip. Instead, the ship seemed to read intention. It responded to what Du wanted, but only if he wanted it the right way. At first, he thought this was impossible. How could a machine know what someone wanted? But slowly, he began to understand. They had built their ships with a kind of empathy. The vessel could sense the emotional state of its operator. It could feel trust and fear and hope and anger, and it would only respond to someone it trusted in return. This explained why 47 engineers had failed. They had approached the ship as a puzzle to solve. They had tried to take control of it, but you could not take control of the. You had to earn its partnership. Du earned it through patience. Every day he talked to the ship. He explained what he was trying to do. He asked permission before touching anything. When something did not work, he apologized and tried a different approach. He treated the vessel like a living thing that deserved respect. And the ship began to wake up. The power core now glowed constantly, a soft purple light that filled the engineering bay. Some of the wall patterns had started to move, flowing like slow water. The air recycling system had turned on by itself, filling the corridors with clean air that smelled like flowers from a world that no longer existed. Du was making progress, but he was also running out of supplies. The cargo transport arrived at the reclamation yard on a Tuesday. It was a battered freighter called the Moonrise, carrying replacement parts for the cutting machines. The pilot was a woman named Hannah. Hannah was 31 years old. She had short black hair and a scar on her left cheek from an accident she never talked about. She had been a military pilot once, flying combat ships for the Earth Defense Fleet. But she had been discharged 3 years ago, and now she moved cargo between stations for barely enough money to keep her ship running. She recognized Du immediately. They had known each other years ago back on Earth, before either of them had left for the stars. They had trained at the same facility. They had been friends once. Du, Hannah said when she saw him at the supply depot, "What are you doing out here?" "I work here," he said, "or I did, now I live here." "You live at a junkyard." "I live on a ship, my ship." He paused. "Would you like to see it?" Hannah had 2 days before her next cargo run. She was curious about her old friend and what he had been doing for 6 years. She followed him to Section 47, to the strange purple ship that sat at the end of the row. When she stepped inside she stopped breathing for a moment. "This is," she whispered. "This is actual technology. Do you know how rare this is? There are maybe a dozen artifacts in the entire galaxy. Museums would kill for something like this." "I know," he said. "That is part of the problem." He showed her the engineering bay and the glowing power core. He explained what he had learned about how the ship worked. Hannah listened with growing amazement. She had never heard of technology like this. Machines that required trust, ships that responded to emotion. It sounded like magic. But she could see that it was real. The ship was alive in a way that no vessel she had ever piloted could match. "What are you going to do with it?" she asked. "I want to fly it," Du said. "I want to take it away from here, give it a chance to be what it was meant to be." "Do you even know how to pilot?" "No, I was hoping you might help with that." Hannah stayed for 2 days. Then she stayed for 2 more. She told herself it was because the cargo run could wait. She told herself it was because she wanted to help an old friend. But the truth was simpler than that. The fascinated her. She had flown many ships in her career. None of them had ever felt like this one. On her 5th day aboard, an older man arrived at the reclamation yard. His name was Sung Ho, and he was a trader who had traveled the galaxy for 40 years. He had gray hair and a kind face, and a ship full of goods that he sold from station to station. He had also served with Du's father in the merchant fleet, long ago. "I heard a rumor," Sung Ho said when Du met him at the dock. "They say a human bought a ship. They say he is trying to wake it up. I had to come see for myself." Du brought him aboard. Sung Ho walked through the corridors slowly, touching the walls, studying the patterns. His face was thoughtful and worried at the same time. "You have done something remarkable here," Sung Ho said finally. "But you have also done something very dangerous." "What do you mean?" "The Galactic Confederacy knows about technology. They have known for centuries. There is a reason no one has successfully restored a ship in all that time. The Confederacy does not want this technology to exist. They are afraid of it." "Afraid of an old ship?" Sung Ho shook his head. "Afraid of what the ship can do. They were not like other species. They did not build weapons to destroy. They built weapons to prevent destruction. Do you understand what that means?" Du did not understand, not yet. "I am telling you this as a warning," Sung Ho continued. "If the Confederacy learns what you have accomplished here, they will come for you. They will not ask nicely. They will not negotiate. They will take the ship, and they will make sure no one ever tries this again." That night, Du sat in the engineering bay with Hannah. The power core glowed above them like a purple star. The ship was more alive than ever. He could feel it breathing around him, trusting him, waiting to see what he would do next. "Sung Ho is right," Hannah said. "We need to be careful." "I know," Du replied. "But I cannot stop now. I promised this ship I would help it. I cannot break that promise." Hannah was quiet for a long moment. Then she nodded. "Okay," she said. "Then I will help you. But if the Confederacy comes, we need to be ready to run." The next morning, they started working on the navigation systems. Hannah guided Du through what she knew about piloting, and he translated her knowledge into the strange language of intention and emotion. Progress was slow but steady. On the 7th day, Du sat in the captain's chair for the first time. He closed his eyes. He thought about open space, about freedom, about taking this beautiful ship away from the junkyard where it had been left to die. The main console lit up, then another, then another. The entire bridge came alive with soft purple light. Hannah stared at the displays with her mouth open. Du, she breathed. The engines are online. Before Du could respond, an alarm sounded from the reclamation yard's communication system. A ship had just arrived in orbit. A military ship. Confederacy markings. They were coming for The Confederacy patrol vessel landed at the reclamation yard 1 hour after the alarm sounded. It was a sleek gray ship with weapons mounted on every surface. 20 soldiers marched out in formation, followed by their commander. Commander was a species known for their strict obedience to rules and their complete lack of humor. He was tall and thin, with pale blue skin and eyes that never seemed to blink. He walked like someone who expected the universe to move out of his way. The yard supervisor met him at the landing pad. Du watched from a distance, hidden behind a row of dead freighters. "I am here for the vessel," announced. His voice was flat and cold. "It has been classified as a restricted artifact under Confederacy Security Protocol 7. I will take possession of it immediately." "Of course," Commander said quickly. He was already sweating. "But there is a small problem. The ship was purchased by one of our workers, a human. He has been living aboard it for 3 months." His pale eyes narrowed. "Purchased by a human, show me." Du ran back to as fast as he could. Hana was already on the bridge, checking the systems that had come online that morning. "They are coming," Du said. "Confederacy military, they want the ship." Hana's face went hard. "How long do we have?" "Minutes, maybe less." Sung Ho appeared in the doorway. He had refused to leave when the alarm sounded, saying he was too old to run from trouble. Now he looked at both of them with serious eyes. "You have a choice to make," Sung Ho said. "You can surrender the ship. The Confederacy will take it apart and study it. They might let you go with a warning, or you can run. But if you run, you become criminals. There is no going back from that." Du looked around the bridge, at the glowing consoles, at the patterns moving on the walls, at this beautiful ship that had trusted him when no one else would. "I made a promise," he said quietly. "I am not breaking it." Hana nodded. "Then we run. But the engines are online. That does not mean we can actually fly. We have never tested anything. We do not even know if the ship can leave the ground." "It can," Du said. He was not sure how he knew this, but he knew it. "The ship is ready. It has been waiting for this." Heavy footsteps echoed through the corridors. The Confederacy soldiers had entered the bridge. "Is this way," Du heard someone say. "Move quickly. Do not let them escape." Hana sat down at what looked like the pilot's station. Du took the captain's chair. Sung Ho stood behind them, holding onto a support beam. "I do not know how to fly this thing," Hana admitted. "There are no controls, nothing I recognize." "You do not need controls," Du said. "You just need to want it. Think about flying. Think about lifting off and leaving this place behind. The ship will do the rest." Hana closed her eyes. Her hands were shaking. This was insane. You could not fly a ship by thinking about it. That was not how anything worked. But then she felt something, a presence in her mind, warm and curious and ancient. The ship was reaching out to her. It was asking permission to connect. Hana let it in. The rose from the ground like it weighed nothing at all. The soldiers who had been running through the corridors stumbled and fell as the deck shifted beneath them. The entire reclamation yard seemed to shake as the old ship woke up completely for the first time in 400 years. Commander had just reached the entrance when the vessel lifted off. He watched in disbelief as the purple ship rose into the gray sky of 4. His soldiers were still inside. "Get them out," he ordered, "now." But there was no time. The climbed faster and faster, leaving the moon behind. The soldiers scrambled for the emergency exits, jumping out and activating their safety gear as the ship broke through the thin atmosphere. Hana was laughing. She could not help it. The ship moved like nothing she had ever experienced. It responded to her thoughts before she even finished thinking them. Every turn was perfect. Every movement was smooth. Flying this vessel was like dancing with a partner who knew exactly what you wanted. "This is amazing," she breathed. This is absolutely amazing." Du was grinning. The ship was finally free. After 400 years of waiting, there was flying again. But their escape was not complete. Commander's patrol vessel was already lifting off in pursuit. "We have company," Sung-Ho warned. "Military-class interceptor, fast and heavily armed." "Can we outrun them?" Du asked. Hana checked her connection with the ship. Information flowed into her mind like water: speed, power, capabilities. Her eyes went wide. "We can do more than outrun them," she said. "This ship is fast, really fast, faster than anything I have ever seen." "Then go, get us out of here." Hana thought about speed, about distance, about leaving this system far behind. They responded with joy. The stars outside the viewport stretched into lines as the ship jumped into faster-than-light travel. Commander's patrol vessel tried to follow, but it was already gone, vanished into the vastness of space. On the bridge, Du let out a breath he did not know he had been holding. They had escaped. They were actually free. "Where do we go now?" Hana asked. Before anyone could answer, a console on the far side of the bridge activated. It displayed symbols that none of them recognized. Writing, ancient and flowing. "What is that?" Sung-Ho asked. Du walked over to the console. The symbols rearranged themselves as he approached, forming something that looked almost like a map. A set of coordinates blinked in the center. "The ship is receiving a signal," Du said slowly. "From somewhere very far away. It wants us to follow it." "A signal from who?" Hana asked. "They are extinct. They have been dead for 300 years." "I do not know," Du admitted. "But the ship trusts this signal. I can feel it. Whatever is out there, they wants to find it." They looked at each other in the soft purple light of the bridge. They were fugitives now. The Confederacy would be hunting them. They had nowhere safe to go and no one they could trust. But they had each other, and they had this impossible ship that had chosen to wake up for them. "I say we follow it," Hana said. "We have already broken every law in the galaxy. What is one more crazy decision?" Sung-Ho shook his head slowly. "I am too old for this," he muttered, but he was smiling. "Let us see where this signal leads." Du entered the coordinates into the navigation system. He did not enter them with buttons or commands. He simply thought about where they needed to go, and the ship understood. They turned toward the unknown reaches of space and flew into the darkness between stars. Behind them, Commander was already sending reports to his superiors. The hunt for the ship had begun. But Du was not afraid. The ship was with him. Whatever waited at those coordinates, they would face it together. A young voice suddenly spoke from somewhere behind them. "Excuse me, I am very sorry, but could someone please tell me what is happening?" They all spun around. Standing in the doorway of the bridge was a young woman they had never seen before. She was maybe 25 years old, with messy hair and glasses that had slipped down her nose. She wore the uniform of a junior engineer from the reclamation yard. "Who are you?" Du demanded. "My name is O1, the young woman said nervously. "I am an engineer. I study alien technology. I heard about your ship and I wanted to see it, so I hid on board 3 days ago. I am really very sorry. But also, this is the most incredible thing I have ever seen, and I would very much like to stay." Du stared at her. Hana stared at her. Sung-Ho started laughing. "Well," Sung-Ho said, "I guess we have a crew now." The coordinates led them to a nebula on the edge of known space. It was a cloud of purple and gold gas that stretched across millions of kilometers, hiding whatever was inside from the rest of the galaxy. No trade routes passed through here. No stations orbited nearby. This was a forgotten corner of the universe. The flew into the nebula like it was coming home. O1 had proven useful during the 3-day journey. She was young and nervous and talked too much, but she was also brilliant. She had studied theoretical physics at one of Earth's best universities. She understood things about energy and matter that made Deuce's head hurt. More importantly, she was fascinated by the technology and wanted to learn everything about it. The ship operates on emotional resonance, one explained one evening, her words coming fast with excitement. The must have discovered that consciousness creates a kind of energy field. The ship is designed to read that field and respond to it. That is why engineers who approached it with doubt or fear could never make it work. The ship could sense their emotions and did not trust them. But why would anyone build a ship like that? Hannah asked. Because they wanted to make sure it could never be used by the wrong people, one said. Think about it. A ship that only responds to someone it trusts, someone with good intentions. It is the ultimate safety system. Do listen to all of this quietly. He had understood the ship through instinct, through patience and kindness. One understood it through science. Between the two of them, they were learning secrets that had been lost for centuries. Sung-ho spent most of the journey worrying. He sent messages to contacts he trusted, trying to learn what the Confederacy was planning. The news was not good. Commander had been given permission to hunt them across the galaxy. Every station and port had their descriptions. A reward had been posted for information leading to their capture. We cannot hide forever, Sung-ho warned. Eventually they will find us. Then we need to find out what this ship can really do, Hannah said. If the Confederacy is so afraid of technology, there must be a reason. The answer waited for them in the heart of the nebula. The station appeared out of the golden clouds like a dream. It was huge, bigger than any space station Du had ever seen. The architecture was unmistakably with the same flowing lines and organic shapes as but the station was dark. No lights shone from its windows. No energy signatures came from its systems. It is dead, Hannah said softly, just like the ship was. Maybe we can wake it up too, Du replied. They docked at a port that seemed designed specifically for vessels like theirs. The fit perfectly, as if the station had been waiting for it. When they stepped out into the darkened corridors, the air was stale but breathable. Emergency systems had kept the atmosphere intact for 300 years. One carried a portable scanner recording everything she saw. This is an archive station, she said, reading the data. They used it to store information, history, science, everything their species knew. Why would they hide it out here? Sung-ho asked. Because they knew they were dying, Du said quietly. The knowledge came to him suddenly, a gift from the ship. They were at war. They were losing. They hid their most important things here, hoping someone would find them someday. They walked deeper into the station. Du led the way, guided by feelings he could not explain. That was connected to this place. It was showing him where to go. They found the central archive in the heart of the station. It was a vast circular room filled with crystalline pillars that stretched from floor to ceiling. Each pillar contained data, billions of years of knowledge compressed into structures of light and matter. One approached one of the pillars with trembling hands. This is everything, she whispered. Everything they ever learned. Medicine, physics, philosophy, art. It is all here. Can you access it? Hannah asked. I think so. The interface is similar to the ship. It responds to intention. One spent hours downloading what she could. The others explored the station, finding storage rooms and laboratories and living quarters that had not been touched in centuries. It was like walking through a tomb, a memorial to a species that had vanished from the universe. Du found what he was looking for in a small room near the archive. It was a record, a final message left by the last who had been here. The message played in his mind when he touched the console. Images and feelings and words flowed into him like a river. They had not built weapons to destroy. They had built weapons to protect. Their greatest creation was not a bomb or a missile or a fleet of warships. It was a field generator, a device that could reach across vast distances and disable all weapons within its range. There was not just a ship, it was the delivery system for this technology. It was designed to enter conflict zones and make fighting impossible. Every gun would stop working. Every bomb would fail to explode. Every ship would lose its ability to harm. They had created the ultimate peacekeeper, and they had been destroyed before they could use it. Do understood now why the Confederacy was afraid. This technology would change everything. Wars would become impossible. The powerful would lose their ability to control the weak through violence. The entire structure of galactic civilization would collapse. He shared what he had learned with the others. They sat in the archive room, surrounded by the glowing pillars, and listened in silence. "This is what the Confederacy does not want anyone to know," Sung-Ho said finally. "They stay in power because they have the biggest guns. If weapons stop working, their power disappears." "We could end wars," one breathed. "Actual wars, we could make them stop. Or we could make a lot of powerful people very angry," Hana said. If we activate this system, everyone will come for us. Not just the Confederacy. Everyone who has ever used violence to get what they want." Du thought about this for a long time. He thought about the abandoned in a junkyard because no one wanted it. He thought about the who had tried to give the galaxy peace and had died for it. He thought about all the wars still being fought, all the people still dying, all the suffering that continued because those with power refused to share it. "The ship chose me," he said slowly. "I do not think it was an accident. It needed someone who wanted to help, someone who was not interested in power or revenge or control. It needed someone who would use this technology the right way." "And what is the right way?" Hana asked. "I do not know yet, but I know I cannot walk away from it. The trusted someone would find this place. They trusted someone would continue their work. I have to try." A distant alarm began to sound. One checked her scanner and her face went pale. "Ships," she said. "Many ships. They just entered the nebula." Sung-Ho pulled up a display from his own device. His expression darkened. "He tracked us somehow, and he did not come alone. There are 30 vessels out there. Military, corporate, independent. Everyone wants this technology." They ran back to the ship was already awake, its systems humming with energy. It knew what was coming. It was ready. Du sat in the captain's chair and felt the ship's presence wrap around him like a warm blanket. The connection between them was stronger than ever. They trusted him completely. "What do we do?" Hana asked from the pilot's station. Du closed his eyes and reached deeper into the ship than he ever had before. He found the weapon system, the peacekeeper field. It was waiting for him, patient and powerful. "We show them what this ship was built to do," he said. The fleet surrounded thee as it emerged from the archive station. 30 ships of different sizes and designs, all pointing their weapons at the single purple vessel. Commander's voice came through the communication system, cold and commanding. "Human, you have nowhere to go. Surrender the ship immediately and you will be treated fairly. Resist, and we will destroy you." Du looked at the tactical display. He saw the weapons charging on every ship. He saw the power readings that indicated enough firepower to vaporize a small moon. He saw his crew watching him, waiting to see what he would do. "He is bluffing," Hana said. "He cannot destroy the ship. The technology is too valuable." "Some of those other ships are not under Confederacy command," Sung-Ho warned. "Pirates, mercenaries, corporate security. They might not care about preserving the technology. They might just want to make sure no one else gets it." One was working frantically at her station. "The weapon system is ready," she reported. "But we have never tested it. We do not know what will happen." Du took a deep breath. The pulsed around him, warm and trusting. The ship was not afraid. It had been built for this moment. It had waited 400 years for someone to finally use it the right way. "Open a channel," he said. "All ships." Hana touched her console. "You are broadcasting." Du stood up from his chair and faced the viewport. Outside, the fleet waited like hungry predators surrounding wounded prey. "My name is Du," he said. "I am a mechanic from Earth. 3 months ago, I bought this ship from a junkyard because no one else wanted it. I did not know what it could do. I only knew that it deserved a chance to live." He paused. The ships were still there, still armed, still dangerous. "This ship was built by you all know that. What you do not know is what they intended it to do. They did not build a weapon of destruction. They built a weapon of peace. This ship can generate a field that disables all weapons within range. Every gun, every missile, every bomb, all of it becomes useless." Murmurs of disbelief came through the communication channels. His voice cut through them. "Lies, technology is ancient. It cannot possibly do what you claim." "Then let me show you," Du said. He reached out to the ship with his mind. He asked permission, just as he always had. The responded with something that felt like a smile. The weapon activated. A pulse of purple energy expanded from the ship in all directions. It washed over the fleet like a wave of light, beautiful and silent and unstoppable. Every ship it touched went dark for a moment. Then their systems came back online, one by one. But something had changed. "Commander, our weapons are offline," someone reported on ship. "All of them. I cannot get them to respond." "Same here," came another voice from a different ship. "Shields are fine, engines are fine, but every offensive system is dead." "What did you do?" demanded. "I showed you what this ship was built for," Du replied. "The field will dissipate in 1 hour. Your weapons will work again after that, but I wanted you to understand something. Wherever there is conflict, wherever people are dying because others have chosen violence, I can be there. I can make the fighting stop, not by killing anyone, not by destroying anything, just by making weapons useless." Silence filled the communication channels. 30 ships hung motionless in space, their crews trying to understand what had just happened. "You cannot stop every war," said finally. His voice sounded different now, smaller, less certain. "One ship cannot be everywhere at once." "No," Du agreed. "But I can be somewhere, I can save some lives, that is enough for me." "The Confederacy will never stop hunting you, you know that." "I know, but the Confederacy only has power because people believe in its power. What happens when everyone knows there is a ship that can take away their guns? What happens when the threat of violence stops working?" Was quiet for a long moment. Then he said something that surprised everyone. "The Confederacy was built on fear. We told ourselves it was necessary, that without the threat of force, chaos would consume everything. I believed that. I still believe it in some ways." He paused. "But I also remember what it was like before I became a soldier, when I thought peace was possible, when I thought we could be better." "You can be," Du said gently. "We all can be. That is what they understood. They did not hate the species who were destroying them. They just wanted to give everyone a chance to choose something other than war." The fleet began to disperse. One by one, the ships turned and flew away into the nebula. His vessel was the last to go. "I will not hunt you anymore," said before he left. "But others will. Be careful, human. The galaxy is not ready for what you are offering." "Maybe not," Du replied, "but someday it will be." They floated alone in the golden clouds of the nebula. The crew sat on the bridge in exhausted silence. They had done something impossible. They had faced an entire fleet and won without firing a single shot. "What happens now?" one asked. "Now we travel," Du said. "We go where we are needed. We find conflicts that can be stopped. We give people a chance to talk instead of fight." "That is a big job for 4 people and 1 ship," Sung Ho observed. "Then we start small, one place at a time, one war at a time," Du smiled. The worked for generations to build this technology. We can work for the rest of our lives to use it. Hannah leaned back in her pilot's chair. You know, when I was discharged from the military, I thought my flying days were over. I thought I would spend the rest of my life moving cargo between stations. This is better. Why were you discharged? One asked. You never said. Hannah was quiet for a moment, then she answered. I refused to fire on a civilian transport. My commanders said it was carrying enemy supplies. Maybe it was, but there were families on that ship. Children. I could not do it. That is exactly why they chose us, Du said. It needs people who would rather lose than hurt innocents. People who believe peace is possible even when everyone says it is not. Word spread across the galaxy in the weeks that followed. A human mechanic in an ancient ship could end any battle before it started. Some people called him a hero. Some called him a threat to civilization. Some called him a fool who would get himself killed. Du did not care what they called him. He cared about the work. They flew to a border dispute between two colonies and shut down the weapons on both sides until their leaders agreed to negotiate. They appeared in the middle of a pirate raid and watched the attackers flee in confusion when their guns stopped working. They responded to a distress call from a refugee ship being hunted by slavers and turned the hunters into helpless prey. Each time, Du offered the same message. Violence was not the only option. There was always another way. The choice was theirs. Some listened, some did not. But slowly, things began to change. People started talking about the purple ship that could make peace. They started wondering if maybe, just maybe, the galaxy could be different. One evening, Du sat alone in the engineering bay. The power core glowed above him, warm and bright. He put his hand on the console beneath it and felt the ship's presence wrap around him like a hug. Thank you, he whispered, for trusting me, for waiting so long for someone to find you. The console glowed brighter for a moment. A pulse of warmth flowed through the ship, touching every room, every system. That was happy. After 400 years of darkness, it was finally doing what it was built to do. Du smiled and closed his eyes. Tomorrow there would be more work, more conflicts to resolve, more chances to show the galaxy that weapons were not the answer. But tonight he was at peace, and so was his ship.